Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Inforunners Podcast. And today we are going to be revisiting the 600 after the Q&A.
What the FOIP? I mean, like, oh God. Look, I honestly thought this Q&A would be redeeming for the 600, so we could start pouring on the love and all that. But honestly, don't you hate when you've actually proven right?
Yes, and
Ugh.
yes, before we get started, I want to apologize ahead of time. I was stupid, not Hayes. I was the stupid one who brought up the stats page, and first of all, never do that. And I realized we made a mistake there, and I also have to say, we also apologized for filming at like 3 in the morning for it, so we were all like, brains. We were all zombified pretty much at that point in time. But I will say, conspiracy theorists here at the stat page, I personally think they don't change the stat page, not because they don't have the time, but because they really don't really want people comparing stats. Because they want people to see, ooh, shiny, JPEG, bye.
I think they delayed the Q&A to, like, I don't know, the last few days, so people would say, "Oh, such a sexy looking ship. Oh, FOIP, 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 FOIP. Oh, take my money. Oh yeah, that's good. What, the stats are all messed up? I'll wait for the Q&A. He'll fix it all up. We'll be right."
Oh,
Q&A
yes.
calls along, and they go, "What? Oh dear. Oh, sorry, 600. Shove it away like the cheap hooker in the melt pile, and then you go, "Oh, Quilla baby, I didn't mean it. You still love me, don't you?" It's
The
like,
thing, though, is the biggest thing about this sale, there's really two things. First of all, luxury. I understand that luxury is not something tangible that we will have in game, so I don't value it highly, but I understand that it's a feature there for status in game, for like maybe NPCs, as well as for luxury transport. Keyword is luxury transport. And the fact that this ship is not even an entry level luxury transport ship makes this the useless type of luxury. Purely and simple.
I think CIG don't actually know what luxury is supposed to mean. At the moment, it seems like it's supposed to inflate the price tag on ships, as opposed to actually provide any tangible features or benefits. I mean, the entire like the luxury variant, which is like $400, why didn't they just make that cargo? If it's just, oh, it's luxury because that's why you're paying more, that's why it's so expensive, well, just give us a damn cargo variant. I mean, if they did a cargo variant of that, it would have flown off the shelves.
It would have flown off the shelves, but the thing is, if they just made a luxury transport version like it was actually a decent ship for people who want to get into that. Again, that's not something that I know you or I are really interested in, but luxury transport is a thing, and there really does need to be that entry level, and it makes me concerned about the Phoenix. The Constellation Phoenix is billed as that to be able to take VIPs around and do that kind of exploring, that type of deal. But my concern is if they're doing this for the 600 series, then what's going on with the Phoenix? Because are they going to be doing a bait and switch here? I mean,
I'm afraid that the 600 just is not a Constellation competitor. It doesn't try to compete with the Constellation. It doesn't try to even compete with the Aquila, let alone the Phoenix. I mean, look, it's fast, but then they go and say the Constellation is more maneuverable, and sort of has, better weapons and guns
it is
and
more
snubs
compact
and
though,
cargo
because
and
that is the
features.
advantage for being shot at. Like, you're not going to necessarily lose your engines, but who cares?
I
This
think
ship.
it's unfair to compare this as a Constellation anymore. I think you have to think of this as it's a ship on its own rights, because it doesn't even try
Well, it
to
doesn't make
compete with
sense
that
as a ship on
Constellation.
its own right, because what purpose is it going to be in my fleet, the luxury version, if I can't escort VIPs around? What purpose is it in my fleet if it doesn't have that really deceptive 64 missiles? Seriously, that
It
is like
doesn't make sense
the
for
biggest.
the luxury variant. I mean, the luxury variant is like, it's a luxury variant. You pay more, but it doesn't do anything. I mean, hello, Q&A, what the hell?
They
But I
mentioned it's
mean, like,
faster, but that's in a straight line. I mean, you're thinking sports. I like how they say sports car versus minivan. Sports car versus minivan. Uh, at
it's
least a sports car has maneuverability and speed in its favor.
the exploration model is in its own right. If you look at it as a ship by itself, It's nice. You could think of it as a toned down Constellation. Might not be worth the money, but I can seriously see that as being a decent go to and from ship, light exploration, um, and a bit more stylish. It is a status symbol at this point. I agree, but I can see people liking that. I think it might even make, if it's faster from point A to B, I think it will make an excellent scout.
Well, the
In
question
fact, I'm
is,
hedging my
will it
bets on
be
that.
faster? As in, like, I know they say it's faster, but are they talking about quantum or are they talking about just in normal space? Because if you're talking about quantum and if every ship is equal in quantum, then speed in a straight line
It's
really doesn't matter.
No, speed in a straight line is good because it allows it to break free of other things that are pursuing it. So I think, as a scout, getting into slightly edgy, dangerous situations, it's probably a good feature. I mean, I'm hedging in my fleet. I sacrificed a poor Banu merchantman. Don't look at me like that. Mind you, I had extra Banu merchantmen set aside for the 600, like since last year. So this was like calculated. Um, but I still think it will find its own niche, just not competitive at this price point. If you manage to get a good discount on this using some other cheaper ship, good on you. Because I think at that point, when you get about $100 or more off, it's not as bad as a deal at that point. At
But we
400,
need a
435,
entry
bit
level
much.
luxury ship, and this goes with their example. Their example was a sports car. Well, being as it's not a fast sports car, well, let's take something luxury like a Bentley. At least with a Bentley, if you went out and bought a Bentley, you could at least then run it as a chauffeur service and charge people to drive people around. So they need to have that for this ship, and I really think they're hopefully going to maybe try to shoehorn that in the future because that they need that entry level to the
I
luxury
just
market.
I can't understand that they would do a luxury variant and not give it a use case scenario in a job case. Like, I mean, they did it for the Phoenix, they did it for the 890, they did it for the Starliner, but apparently this is luxury, but it has no use case. In that case, why would anyone buy this?
Well, they said it's
The
universe
exploration?
building, but then
I
why are
mean,
you buying it outside of the universe unless it
because
gives
it
you some
looks
sort of
cool.
prestige?
That's like it's the prestige or looks cool or some other factor. That they basically said that down in the Q&A. It's it's the prestige, the cool factor. It looks good. People want to be in style, but they don't want to earn any money from it. It's like no, just
Okay, but
anyway.
this really leads us into our next subject. Before we beat this to a dead horse, it is a status symbol. And the thing is, that's going to be important for people who like to role play. And with role playing and everything, the big thing from Gamescom that we really wanted to talk about, we avoided all the other stuff. People have beat that stuff to death. But the FOIP, it's going to be the best thing for role playing, period.
People, many people say FOIP doesn't interest me. FOIP is not really important. Oh, that's just a tacked on feature. Well, it's actually been in the plans for a number of years. They have talked about getting the rigs together to do these voice conference calls. But the most important thing you can take away from this is two things. One is the role playing, and secondly is the face tracking. So let's get the face tracking done first. If you think about role playing, what other games like the big RPGs? Let's think about like uh,
Wow.
Star Trek Online, WoW, EverQuest. These games continue to bring people back in. Sure, they have a competitive scene, but what really lynches people in is playing with their friends. They want to do their social groups, their friend groups, their guilds. Those people keep these locked into these games for the long term. And it doesn't really matter. The thing that will make Star Citizen succeed for many years to come, past its initial gameplay and offerings, past starships and ships and ground play, is going to be the role playing. It's those things that keep people want to turn up. They want to be with their friends and want to do something as a group. And FOIP is the thing that reinforces that social circle.
And not only that, it helps you gain new friends and people into that social circle when you're not just saying, "Oh, you'll hop on this Discord." It's you can talk to people literally in a room, and maybe someone wants to join a ship. They don't have to have your Discord, and the fact that you can also see the face, and that really to me is exciting. Is that helps
Oh,
you see it makes it more genuine, more realistic, more appealing, being as you have that honest emotion. right there.
People want to spend more time just hanging out than playing the real game. Their friends are just all off in a room or a ship somewhere, and they just want to hang out. They
What
may
about in
not even be
quantum or
interested.
ship travel times? That's what you're going to be
Well,
doing half the time, is talking and socializing while you're going from point A to point B.
yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's many people who don't care about advancing their character, about earning money, about doing missions. They just want to do the role playing. They just want to hang out. And this FOIP-based technology is one of those things that's going to keep them locked into playing this game long after all the rest of that sort of stuff, they stop caring for it. And I think this is one of those advantages. If Star Citizen gets the FOIP technology seamless and they get it really good, this is one of those pieces of tech that will really cement this role playing and hooking these people in to keep playing well after when they might have given it up for something else.
Well, the thing is also the tech is also going to be kind of into the NPCs, so the NPCs are going to look more realistic, and that extra realism into the NPCs also increases your immersion as well as the ability, because this isn't just watching your face move up and down on a character, it's also being able to have your head movements, so I can look left and right without necessarily track IR. And if they get this technology right, in theory, you won't even have to get too many new webcams, and that's actually going to add a little bit more accessibility to this and to the universe.
Speaking of track IR, having a proper from the ground up based facial tracking for the purpose of being able to see around you, that situational awareness. Suddenly, if you're in a freelancer, but you have proper head tracking to be able to see in the different directions you need to, left, right, up and down, that limited cockpit view doesn't matter anymore. You have excellent situational awareness, whether that's tracking target by doing a mixture of roll, having that side window there, being able to see what's around you, not to mention the ability for combat pilots to track targets instead of going off to the screen and following the little arrow the entire time, to be able to track it right
And also
off,
gimbals, because a lot of track IR stuff nowadays, you can actually start training it to go with your gimbals and everything. And if that happens, I would be actually excited to see them maybe start lifting some of the restrictions they've had on gimbals. Being as it's the balance between HOTAS, having your full stick and all that type of stuff versus mouse and keyboard. And if you have a universal equalizer, which will allow gimbals to be used and things like that, work across the board, who knows, maybe they'll start lifting some of those restrictions and make them a little bit better than what they are right now.
I think they're eventually going to have to change the way IM works with regards to gimbals eventually. The idea of time to kill to the long idea of pacing and things like that. Eventually, when ships need to last for longer periods of time in battles, you want longer battles. They're eventually going to have to address this issue. I know there's a lot of people who are jumping all up and down on the forums about, all these issues.
Battle.
And, my heart's out with you there. But the thing is, I think they're going to be forced to, no matter what, come and revisit this, because no matter how much they screw with the flight model to try and get what they're aiming for, it's just not going to work out. Anyway, that's a separate issue.
Oh, I just have to say, while we're talking about flight models, you have to say the Gamescom, I was a little bit disappointed that you have like a Buccaneer just sitting there floating, because it's like, what's the point of the wings on these ships nowadays if they aren't going to be using that aerodynamics? I mean, if they're just going to be using complete VTOL space, like flying in atmosphere, that's really going to lose some of that immersion and practicality, as well as maybe some of the proper design, because you see some of these ships change kind of like their form, like the Cartual or the Reliant. And does it make sense that if you're not using wings?
I honestly don't think they've worked out atmospheric flight yet. It doesn't take a component of gravity as a vector and to your current vector and get that centripetal force. I think once they actually do a proper implementation of that, ships might actually start feeling like ships. Because at the moment, I think all they have is drag. That's all they've added, mostly in their flight model. And so I think there's a big outcry in the community. I think it's something they'll get done. It's early days yet. At the moment, they want to get rid of all those bugs. They're probably not focusing on the flight model.
Yeah, I love the bug spike. It's like, oh, here we go. We're dropping down our bugs. Game's gone. Boop! Right back up there. It's like snakes and ladders.
I'm strangely confident about the flight model being better, because now that they've finally got atmospheric flight. They're realizing that it has to be different from space flight. But the problem is they've dumbed down space flight to the point where it's simulating atmospheric flight. And so in order to differentiate the two, they're going to have to make massive changes on both ends. And, we want World War II in space, but you have World War II in atmosphere. Can't you just settle with that and then completely do something separate for space?
Well, with space, I really
think
want to
that's the direction they're going to go.
Like Babylon 5 did some of the space combat, some of the best with the fighters. With the fighters with multi-directional, and it's just like the complete flips. I know you kind of got that now, but it would be great to see something a little bit different than World War II in space. Especially with the fact that railguns and lasers and all that in space would have a lot farther distances than they currently do. Bullets just don't stop.
I'm decently optimistic that they're going to sort out the flight model. I know a lot of other people don't share that sort of feeling. I'm not concerned yet. I think it's far too early. I think the reality is going to start kicking them when they start balancing out atmospheric flight and then have to compare that to space flight. But going back to track IR and having a proper track IR, it is so important that this is not a tacked on feature. This is something they're sticking in early. It's going to see a lot of iterations. It's going to be like a supported feature they want to show off as a primary feature. I think this is one of the best things that could come to Star Citizen, as opposed to being a hardcore flight sim based feature. It's now a feature for everyone with a webcam. The level of accessibility and the level of polish this is going to receive as a result is some of the best news we've had with regards to flights in general.
This in-game duration, period.
Flight combat, or even like maneuvering very large ships and having that situational awareness from landing to navigating an asteroid to dogfighting, this is a really big deal. I cannot not overstate that enough.
So guys, I mean, what do you think? I mean, are we right, wrong? I mean, are you excited to see FOIP, or are you agreeing with us with the 600 series? I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, we had a lot of comments, and I'm going to apologize. It's taking us a while to go through them all because there's so many, but we do read them all. Responding to them all, we're trying our best. It's been a very busy week for us, so...
Honestly, I was as shocked as some people that the 600 Q&A did not dispel some of our initial based assumptions. So, I
was hoping
right out there.
Grow.
Yeah, honestly, I wanted the second video to say, yes, you can. This is good, and this is good, and you buy the 600. But sometimes you don't always get what you're looking for.
Yep. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always,
catch you around.
See you around.
Do we have anyone watching?
You just